All right. Today I want to talk about a team that clearly everyone likes to talk about because they're the most focused on franchise in the NHL. They are the New York Yankees. They're the Dallas Cowboys. They're the Lakers. The Toronto Maple Leafs are always have the most eyes on them every season. A large fan base that's always rooting for them to win, and a large anti-fan base that's always rooting for them to fail. The Toronto Maple Leafs, once again, last season disappointed in the playoffs, but in a different way than other seasons where a lot of rhetoric around this team is that the young guys can't do it. Players like William Nylander, Mitchell Marner, and Auston Matthews can't carry a team like this to win anything. And Kyle Dubas listened, heard that, and made changes to the team. He brought in Wayne Simmons. He kept Jason Spezza. He brought in Nick Foligno at the deadline. These big, grindy players. And it didn't work again. So what's the problem here? There's a problem. And the problem that I've noticed, and I feel like has more of an impact than people would believe, is Auston Matthews is more of a problem than people would believe. Now, it's not necessarily in his play, but it's in how he makes other people play around him. Auston Matthews is 23 years old, and he hasn't won anything. He won the Calder, he won the Rocket, but in terms of actually succeeding in the playoffs, he hasn't done anything. And that, I think, in NHL players' eyes matters more. But on this team, on the Toronto Maple Leafs, Auston Matthews is definitively the best player in that locker room. I'm pretty sure if you asked the entire roster, they would all say Auston Matthews is the best player on this team. And it, goes with advertising. It goes with, commentary about this team, especially what I'm saying right now. And is that a good thing to have a definitive best player on your team? And what does that do to your locker room when you have someone and like Auston Matthews being the best player on your team? Okay? So I want to look at other teams as examples to sort of get an idea of what I'm talking about. If you look at the New York Islanders, I feel like it's hard. It's especially hard for me to look at this team and think, like, who's the best player on this team? Who is the best player? Matthew Barzal is amazing. Anders Lee is much better than people gave him credit for when John Tavares left. Josh Bailey provides a lot to this team. I'm sure some guy would say Matt Martin's the best player on this team. No. There's who was it? Who was the defenseman that came out? Ryan Pollock, amazing playoff run last year. So this team is more of a lot of these middle in the pack contracts. If you just look at the contract structure, you see these top contracts that everyone talks about in the Leafs, and then it tapers off to these, like, there's no way these guys are the best players on the team. It has to be one of these three. But you look, and there's a lot of contracts that are at the top portion. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 contracts that are within $2 million of each other at the top bracket. So who's the best player on this team? That's not the point with this team. The point is that this team is good. They all play together. If you watch the Islanders, they all are on the same page when they play. You're not looking at one guy. You're looking at them all play together. And it works for them. It works wonders for them. And also doesn't, force them to have to, in free agency, go out and make big signings. Go out and sign guys like John Tavares for a contract that's, coming into the back half. That's going to be a big problem. Also being forced to, have these deals that are 1.25 that people are like, this is killing the team. People talk about the Leafs and say that the Pierre Engvall contract kills the Leafs and the Justin Hall contract kills the Leafs. This is $2 million. This is $1.25 million. It's bad to put yourself in a situation where you're going to get killed like that. And then let's move on to the Vegas Golden Knights. I chose teams that have seen recent playoff success in terms of how far they've made it. Who's the best player on the Vegas Golden Knights? So you have a couple options here. You have Mark Stone, certainly amazing player, and then you have Alex Pietrangelo, another amazing player, had an amazing playoff run. Also Shea Theodore, amazing player. When also Marc-Andre Fleury when he was here, amazing. William Karlsson had his moment in the spotlight. I think he's tapered off a little bit. But you have some options. I don't think you could have a genuine consensus. And if you asked everyone in this locker room who's the best player, I think some people say Pietrangelo, some people say Mark Stone, some person would definitely say Fleury, maybe even someone would say Leonard, honestly. Someone would probably say Shea Theodore as well. I think Pietrangelo would pick Shea Theodore if he had to pick anyone. And this team is a little bit more top-heavy than the New York Islanders. So, well, almost, I would say any team in the NHL is more top-heavy than the New York Islanders, even a little. But they, again, work together. You're not watching one guy. Mark Stone does excite you when he comes on the ice. Pietrangelo does excite you, but they do work together. And they are not just one identity, and they can be led by anyone. Mark Stone can lead the team because Mark Stone has done stuff in his career. Mark Stone has, I believe he was on that deep run with the Senators. You just don't, you have people to look to. While on the Leafs, I don't think you have anyone to look to except for John Tavares, but it's hard to look for John Tavares because he is definitely not the best player on this team. So then you would think, okay, well, there is a team out there, this one right here, who has had a definitive best player for a long time, and that is Sidney Crosby on the Pittsburgh Penguins. Sidney Crosby, Pittsburgh Penguins has been a consistently, like, you cannot deny that he is the best player on this team year in, year out. There were a couple years where you could say Gino, but overall, Sidney Crosby is. But Sidney Crosby is a different person than Auston Matthews. Sidney Crosby came into the league already feeling like he had done something and proven something in his participation in World Juniors, and then right out of the gate dominating the league. He won his first cup very quickly in 2009, and then also making it all the way to the finals 2008. This guy, and you know what? Sidney Crosby is also not necessarily had this, relaxed, I'm the best player mentality attached around him, because he's always been attached to Alexander Ovechkin. So as much as you would want to say that this is a great counterexample, I would say no, I don't think the mentality in Crosby's head, and he doesn't give himself breaks because he's always comparing himself to Ovechkin and has this sort of back and forth competition with him. So I wouldn't say that this is a good counterpoint. And Crosby is definitely different than Auston Matthews. I would say right now, you would definitely still want Crosby on your team over Auston Matthews in terms of what he brings. So what am I talking about Auston Matthews? What's the main problem? I think when you're imagine you're sitting in this locker room and you just lost Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Finals, and it felt like no one was saying anything. It didn't feel like there was a person in that room that could speak up. I think John Tavares could have done that this year, but he was injured, if we all remember. Auston Matthews, I don't think, does enough of the hard work of being a leader. I think he tries too hard to be the nice, beloved guy, and not to sound like your uncle on Twitter, but I don't like that he hangs out with Justin Bieber all the time. I don't like that he has this celebrity edge to him. I wish he showed to the team that he is more of a leader and hard player. Like when Joe Thornton joined the Leafs, you would have thought that Auston Matthews would have become more like Joe Thornton, that everyone on this team would have become more like Joe Thornton in terms of work ethic, in terms of grinding, and maybe shaving off a little bit of success, because Joe Thornton has seen a lot of success in the playoffs in terms of how far he's gone. But I would say the opposite happened. I would say Joe Thornton became more like Auston Matthews and Mitch Marner. I would say that's what happened to Patrick Marleau as well, where Marner and Matthews, it feels like they can't be influenced. It feels like that they are already in their heads and, in their play, engraved into we're the leaders of this team, even through John Tavares, because there's two of them. So I think that too many players get kind of weaseled into that sort of mindset. Players like William Nylander are more like Auston Matthews. When Frederick Anderson was here, he had that same sort of thing where they're too obsessed with the celebrity edge that it takes away from their play. I really think that's true, and I think that's what's going on with this team. And then the other thing I'll talk about the Leafs is that this year I think they're genuinely worse, not by a ton, but I think they're genuinely worse than they were last year, not necessarily in what they've lost. So first off, goaltending. Jack Campbell, I think every Leafs fan should go to sleep praying that he is what he was last year, because now he is going to be the starter. Or, I mean, maybe 1A, 1B, but Peter Mrazek is an injury-prone goalie who is streaky. He's very streaky, and there's going to be a point where Peter Mrazek just isn't doing it for him. You're going to have to really lean on Jack Campbell, and he was able to do that this year. He was totally able to do that this last year. Can he do it again? You're going to have to cross your fingers. The next thing we'll talk about, John Tavares. This contract is getting into the years that, are haunting. These 3 years are guaranteed going to not be worth the money. You're not going to be worth $11 million as John Tavares when you're 31, 32, 33. I think this next year he'll still be close to worth it, but he just got injured. I don't think it's going to affect, the injury's going to affect him too much, but I think that this sort of contract is going to close your window faster than you'd like. And, in the middle of that, Auston Matthews' contract is going to run out. And I think if they don't make it farther in the playoffs, Auston Matthews is almost certainly going to leave. And, if they don't do anything this year, I think Mitch Marner, they're going to look to trade him. This team is really in doomsday mode, and they don't have anyone to look to calm them down. Like, the Pittsburgh Penguins have been in doomsday mode before, and I think Sidney Crosby, was worth double his number in his contract, and the fact that he raises everyone on his team to a level that's far beyond their maximum play on any other team. I think he really makes everyone on his team better, and I think he can make the case that Auston Matthews on Toronto Maple Leafs makes a lot of people on his team a decent amount worse. So that's basically it for this one. The other thing I want to say is that there is hope in terms of their non-roster forwards. Where Nicholas Robertson, he's going to have to play this year. He's been really unlucky with his injuries, but it really is going to have to happen this year. They also have, I believe there's one more. Timothy Liljegren is going to have to play as well. So I mean, good luck to them. Leafs fans deserve better, but there's definitely a larger fan base rooting against them than rooting for them. And you also don't have the draft capital to really look to the future. So enjoy the games now, because this team will eventually get worse. And it's going to be mostly around John Tavares' contract. But yes, that is all. Thank you guys. Again, leave comments if you want to see anything talked about, and I will try to do it if I think I can make it last over 10 minutes. And I'm going to want to post these. I think I'm going to want to post these every day at around 6 a.m. and schedule them for 6 a.m. posts. So yeah, thank you.